Hello Year 11, welcome to today's lesson, and it's what was the Hitler Youth like? So just a reminder, you should have, as part of yesterday's lesson, watched a short documentary, Confessions of a Hitler Youth, and that was to give you some sense of what the Hitler Youth meant and what it was like for those who were in it. So if you just put the title, what was the Hitler Youth like? You can pause the pre-recorded lesson while you do that, and then we'll move on. So you should have already downloaded the Word document attached to Firefly. You've also got a paper copy of this in your booklet as well. So what I need you to do is read the bottom section of the Word document or your booklet. I've circled it in blue. Then once you've done that, you should be able to complete this mind map showing leisure time and indoctrination and explaining how the Nazis used the Hitler Youth and the League of German Maidens to indoctrinate German youth. So on one side of the mind map, you'll have all the things they introduced for boys in terms of their leisure time. That's the Hitler Youth activities. You should be able to note down and mind map that. And on the right-hand side, you should be able to note down how they intended to brainwash and indoctrinate girls during their leisure time using things like the League of German Maidens. So again, read the bottom of the page and you need to mind map what action they took with leisure time, brainwash boys on one side and girls on the other. So you need to pause the video while you complete that straightforward. Okay, now an evaluation of just how successful the Nazis were in indoctrinating or brainwashing the youth through education, the school system, and through the leisure time in the Hitler Youth and the League of German Maidens. So in education, they were very successful. Schools followed the new curriculum and the new syllabuses, indoctrinated children into Nazi ideas of race and the position of boys and girls in society and Nazi ideology, and nearly all teachers followed the Nazi instructions. But there's a few question marks, not entirely successful. Academic standards dropped. Since the emphasis was on physical activities, it was difficult to teach academic subjects, especially with Hitler Youth leaders in your class. Some schools managed to get away with not following instructions. One school, for example, didn't teach Mein Kampf, and some teachers got around the rules by introducing topics like democracy through geography. So in youth groups, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the Nazi youth were successfully indoctrinated. So, for example, 8 million young people were in the Hitler Youth by 1939, and lots of them enjoyed the activities, the friendship, and the opportunities that were on offer. It gave a lot of young people something to do and something to aim for. They also liked the discipline and the pride that the uniform conferred. And during the war, many of them followed instructions without question, even when they were sent into situations where they were likely to die. And you should have seen all of that on our video from yesterday. But there are some question marks, not entirely successful. The Hitler Youth didn't appeal to everyone. In 1938, there were around 3 million young people who didn't turn up, and some of these joined alternative groups like the Edelweiss Pirates. If you look to the right, I've got a quick bit of information about the Edelweiss Pirates. They appeared during the later part of the 1930s in the districts of large cities. They were grouped across Germany in different cities. Membership of the group was predominantly teenagers. Teenagers who joined were unhappy with the lifestyle which were imposed upon them by the Nazis, though the groups met in secret. They smoked, they drank, they played American music. Basically, everything they did went against Nazi ideas, and that was the point. But they were only ever a minority group. Lots of children willingly joined the youth and willingly bought into Nazi ideology, but there were a number who didn't, and the Edelweiss Pirates were a representation of them. And many parents became wary of the Hitler Youth since it taught children to be more loyal to the state than to them. Some even worried about being reported to the Gestapo by their own children. And by 1939, the increasing military aspect of the Hitler Youth had put a lot of young people off, and it lost a good deal of its previous support and influence. So you've got to take all that into account. So if we move on to the final slide. So this allows you to make an evaluation. So you need to put a title, how successful was the indoctrination of young people in Nazi Germany? And we need to evaluate the school system and then the Hitler Youth. So our first paragraph, marked with a number 1, I've given you a starter sentence. indoctrination through the school system was effective, for example, and then just explain how the school system was effective in getting Nazi ideas through to German children. However, there were issues, and then just point out some of the problems that we looked at on the previous slide. Once you've done your evaluation of schools, just move on to the Hitler Youth. And again, I've given you a starter sentence. Indoctrination through the Hitler Youth was largely successful, for example, and then explain the appeal of the Hitler Youth, the numbers of people who joined the Hitler Youth, and all the evidence we have to suggest that it wasn't a successful tool in getting German young people to be willing supporters of Hitler and the Nazis. However, the popularity of the Hitler Youth did fall off in the late 1930s, and then just explain some of the question marks we've got over just how popular the Hitler Youth was, certainly by the late 1930s. Once you've done that, that concludes a case study of indoctrination of the young through education and the Hitler Youth. Well done for completing it.